Hey everybody, it's Morgan coming to you live from the Highland Cycles studio in Montrose, Colorado. We are struggling a little bit with the live feed because Facebook on the computer's all jacked up. I don't know what's going on. So hopefully this will work. Jim Wells, what's happening? Yeah, hopefully we get all this sorted out. Anyway, so we're back on the phone. We're doing this on the phone again. Hey Javier, how's it going? I'm gonna do this and hopefully that helps some. Oh, never mind, I can't do that while I'm recording. There we go. Brady Metter, are you coming here or are you going elsewhere? I got it sorted, Brady. I got it sorted as well as we need. Bill Bunt, what's happening? Good morning. Yeah. Welcome to the Gospel of Two Wheels number 46, where we're going to talk. I'm giving everybody the option to talk all about Rotella today. We're going to talk about oil, both 2-stroke, 4-stroke, oil changes, things like that. So let's start talking about oil. Brady has a great point. He says if you're riding a dirt bike, run bike-specific oil. Don't be a cheap ass. I agree 100%. Don't. The reliable aid. I don't even use Rotella in my Cummins. Use Motil. Fair enough. So Ace Jones, T4 recommend for Recluse. Is that still the case? Because Recluse backed off of that not long ago. They said Rotella, and then they backed off of it. I don't know exactly. So from my experience, let's just talk about Recluse and oil real fast. So we're just going to go down that rabbit hole. I have used Recluses in a fair number of my 2-strokes. I don't have one in there now, but I have, and I have always used Bel-Ray Gear Saver 80 weight in it. I have never had a problem with a Recluse using Bel-Ray Gear Saver ever. Now, I don't know if anybody else has. You can also go down the, yeah, Recluse. Brady Meter says Recluse does not recommend Rotella. Thank you very much. Your serious question, what oil in my 2T Husky gearbox? Shifting is notchy. I would absolutely try Bel-Ray Gear Saver 80 weight synthetic. Try it. Try that, Jim Wells. I'm telling you right now, I've never had a problem with Gear Saver. It's been good. See, there's only a few. Javier says there's only a few oil companies in the world. Smaller companies blend to their specifics. Absolutely. Of course, there's only a few companies in the world. To refine crude oil and put it and make it into the stuff we put in our vehicles is crazy expensive. So, yeah, Shay McNabb, Walmart. Nate Scott, what's happening? Hey, Joey Bose, what's going on? How are you? Big group today. Garrett Anderson, this is awesome. You guys are killing it. I'm just going back here. Ace Jones, yeah, they backed off. It's been a thing. Recluse quit recommending. They have their own oil now, which is probably Rotella. I don't know. Anyway, hey Nate, Brady and Aleph are missing you right now, and like in a special way. So, sorry guys. So yeah, Recluse oil. I use Gear Saver in a 2-stroke. I love it. 4-stroke. I just really don't have too many problems with oil and Recluses. Just use good oil. Honestly. Here's like, if you take anything away from this show, anything, like absolutely anything away from this show today, clean oil and oil, like of any kind, the right amount is better than dirty oil or no oil, okay? Freaking change your oil, okay? That is the important takeaway. Brady says he rebuilt several Rotella engines this year. Fair enough. John Bowman, I think it's safe to say, Jay Coleman was having the majority of us here for Rotella. Oh yeah, fair enough. Javier says Rotella's the best to clean inside of engine when riders down their bikes in a creek. Absolutely. Anything, honestly. So let's just say you're riding along, you try to go across a creek, you drown the bike. You really need to get all that water out of there as soon as humanly possible because there's a lot of steel in there that'll rust. And anyway, we know the problems with water and engines. The cheapest oil ever, run it, get it out of there, run it, get it out of there, and change the oil a whole bunch to get all that water out. Garrett Anderson asks, why does everyone try to cheap out on oil? I really, really, really don't know. That is a great question. Why are people so cheap on oil for their dirt bike? Let's talk about dirt bikes. Dirt bikes in general are expensive, right? So they're even a used one is probably going to be a couple $1,000 if you get something decent, unless you're super lucky you find the great deal. Blah blah. We're not going down that hole. A lot of people buy brand new ones, especially people watching this show. I know, and I feel like if you're going to spend that much money, why on earth would you cheap out on decent oil? Why would you cheap out on oil or really anything, honestly? I don't understand the point of cheaping out on oil. That's going to lead me into a segue on why people cheap out on two-stroke oil. Because I'm going to leave the four-stroke world for a second and go to the two-stroke world where people talk about running Sabre 80-1, Sabre 100-1. And honestly, I get most of the time those people say they're running that because it's cheap, because they put less oil in their gas. Okay, I don't care if it is okay on the motor. I don't care. I don't believe that it is. I don't care if you feel like the bike runs better like that, which again I don't agree with. But seriously, you're talking about saving a few cents per gallon or whatever, $1 per gallon on your dirt bike? Like, you're in the wrong sport. Like, you should really take up knitting. Jim Wells, I mark hours on gearbox with Sharpie at each oil change. Change it 5 to 6 hours. 2T, fair enough, man. I go longer than on my two strokes. I go 10 to 15 hours on gear oil change, and I've had no problem. Matt Sadler says, Silcoline Comp 2, when he used to race two strokes, always worked awesome. Fair enough. Tori Anderson, Tori says, you don't know what you don't know, especially when you're new to dirt bikes. I agree 100%. But what I don't get is why people, even if you don't know anything, right? So you go buy a dirt bike, used or otherwise, and now you're just trying to go as cheap as humanly possible. I guess if you just haven't ever done it, fair enough. But I'm here to tell you, don't cheap out on your oil. So Brady Metter says, factory readings, collapse and brake running Rotella. I've had 5 engines this year with the same issue. There we go. Again, not sure why people would cheap out. Javier says, in my new 450 FX, I just changed the oil with Yamaha 4R. Mineral oil up to 20 hours. So I know we're kind of all over the place, but Javier has a great point about mineral oil up to 20 hours. I agree with that. I don't recommend, I recommend running whatever they say. But personally, I run non-synthetic oil in my bikes, not in the gearbox, but in a four-stroke. I run non-synthetic oil up till about 10 to 15 hours, usually the first or second oil change, to get the ring seated and everything broken in nice and happy, and then I switch to synthetic. The way I look at oil is it's cheap insurance. It's absolutely cheap insurance. Tori Anderson, that's why we use Highland Cycles. You're willing to educate your customers when a dealer just wants to sell you something. Absolutely. A little story to tell about, I tell this story a lot about Bel-Ray Gear Saver. So in 2011, the end of 2011, I had a 2012 KTM 300 XC. My first KTM. I was super stoked, brand new. I took it down to Oklahoma to the Gold Rush, right? No, Nate, Nate asked, did I miss the part of make fun of your beard? No, you can start right now. Is Jimmy Lewis watching? No, Jimmy Lewis does not consume a lot of content. He is busy. I think he's out on his big adventure bike. He might watch this later, but Jimmy doesn't spend a lot of time actually on Facebook consuming. So he's a busy man. I am too. He and I have a little bit different philosophies on Brady Metter says my beard is hideous. I'm hideous. So there we go. let me get back to my story on Gear Saver. So I've run Gear Saver in my YZ 2-strokes for a long time in the gearbox. So I put that in my KTM. The bike has about a month and a half old. I took it to Oklahoma to Gold Rush. In the first lap, I poked a hole in the clutch cover that I did not know. Something flipped up, a rock or something hit the bottom of the clutch cover. Didn't get on my boots, didn't get anywhere else, and it drained all of the oil out of that gearbox. I mean, every last drop of like liquid oil came out of that gearbox. The bike started making all kinds of noise. The gearbox was chattering, the clutch was going just like a seal at freaking SeaWorld. It was, or Sea Lion, excuse me. It was sketchy. I kept racing because I'm racing, and I'm like, you know, whatever, trying to do well, even though I suck. So, but I'm having, you know, going. I'm like, what's wrong with this bike? It's making all this noise. But because I'm an idiot, I just kept going. I finished the race. I look at the bike. I figure out what's going on. I'm like freaking out because now I'm like, oh, this thing's junk. My brand new bike. I smoked the tranny. Move on down the road. The next day comes. There's another race there. I'm trying to get my spare bike out of YZ125. It had a carburetor issue. I couldn't get it going. I JB weld the hole in the KTM clutch cover. I pour 600 cc's of different oil into it, not the same oil, and that I didn't, because I borrowed some because I didn't have any extra oil. Pour that in there. I take it out. I race it another like 80 miles, and long story short, I never replaced a single part in that motor. It was perfect. So I personally love Bel-Ray Gear Saver. 2-strokes, I love Bel-Ray Gear Saver, but I will say another thing. I'm actually trying out our shop oil, which is VP 1040 motor oil. I'm trying that out in the gearbox of both the KTM and the YZ250 right now, just to see, because I know that in the gearbox of a 2-stroke, it's pretty hard to hurt anything. It's really hard to hurt things unless you drain all the oil out, which again, if you use good oil, seems to be okay. But I like to change things up and just try it out, because it doesn't, like I said, it's not going to really hurt anything. Worst case scenario, I buy a clutch, you know, whatever. I can say right now the VP 1040 that I'm using, this is our bulk oil at the shop for like ATVs and stuff like that, is working pretty good in the transmission. I still like the Gear Saver better. It seems to shift better and the clutch works better. Again, the takeaway from all the, because you guys are all going back and forth and everybody's talking about Rotella and new motors, old motors, rings collab, all those things. Change your damn oil. Change your oil often, right? That's how you fix things. That's how you keep things from breaking, is you change the heck out of your oil, right? So Richard Dawson, what's happening? If you change your oil often, you will probably not have any problems. Okay. About manufacturer's recommendations and all these things. Here's a funny little thing I have to say, and this goes on my the side of the argument that kind of oil is oil to a certain point, especially if it's motorcycle specific oil, because I think it's hilarious that KTM recommends Motorex, right? So KTM recommends Motorex. It says it all over their stinking motorcycles, in the book, everywhere. But if you buy a Husqvarna, which I think we all now know is made in Austria by KTM, it says Bel-Ray on it. That to me is hilarious and proof that it's not super duper brand specific, okay? Probably what that means is that both Bel-Ray and Motorex come from the same place, and they just get branded differently, maybe a few different things in them, but I think it's hilarious. I think it's so funny that Husky says Bel-Ray and KTM says Motorex. It just makes me giggle, because again, I feel like that's kind of proof that as long as you use good oil, you're probably going to be fine. It doesn't have to be super duper specific. Here is a quick note, since we are a little bit about education and mostly about fun here. One of the big differences between motorcycle oil and automotive oil is that motorcycle oil is made to run in a wet clutch or with a wet clutch. Automotive oil is made to run in just an engine where things are always supposed to slide past each other and never grip to each other, right? So clutches are supposed to grip to each other and connect the crankshaft to the transmission, right? So motorcycle oil is a little less slippery than automotive oil. Running automotive oil in your clutch can ruin a clutch. That being said, if you are somewhere on a trip and you have gnarly, nasty oil in your bike, or you poke a hole, you drain the oil out, and you fix the hole or whatever, automotive oil is better than not putting oil on the bike. Do it. Roger Hurd says, just change it often. I completely agree. The more often you change it, the better. Obviously, you don't want to waste money. I mean, I know we're just talking about not being cheap, but you don't want to waste money changing it every 2 hours because, honestly, it's going to be okay. But let's see. Just Monroe, what kind of oil do millennials use on their beards? Question mark, Nutella. Yes, absolutely. I rub Nutella. Actually, I take that back. I don't rub Nutella. I rub Vegemite in mine. So I'm a little more manly than that. Wow, it's already 8 o'clock. You guys are crazy. I know that was a crazy, tangential craziness show. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let me just say one thing about two-stroke oil. 80 and 101, silly. Zero reason. Doesn't make any more horsepower. Maybe it burns a little cleaner on the plug, but if you jet right, that's not a problem. Hey, Punk Rock Club, if you're still here watching, horns, thank you so much. Give them to me. If you're watching this on YouTube later, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe. I appreciate that very much. Guys, have an awesome day. So, 2 takeaway messages. 1, change your damn oil and keep it fresh. Okay, that's the first takeaway message. The second takeaway message is go ride your freaking dirt bikes. Get out, ride. I love you guys watching this and being keyboard warriors while we're doing this because that's fun. But when it comes time to ride, just go ride and have a blast. Yeah, guys, have an awesome day. Guys, spread positivity, happiness, love, joy in the world. That's part of spreading the gospel of two wheels. And no matter what you do, get out and ride your dirt